It's that time once again. What's good, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and welcome to the third annual WWE 2K expectations, predictions, speculation style of video. Once again, I've written down a whole page of things that I'd like to see, and that just might be in the game. Who knows? Anything can happen in the wild world of video games. Now, to begin, I will say that 2K19 was a step in the right direction. I had more fun with that game than I had in 18, 17, 16, 15. Like, it had been a long slog in those games, and they seem to finally understand what might make them more fun moving forward. And 2K has been on record as saying that they're going to put more investment into the 2K game series, as much as they're putting into the NBA series, which hopefully means good things this year. But again, they only have a year of time to develop these games, right? As soon as they finish the last one, they start the new one. And the cutoff for things that are going to be finalized is at WrestleMania, which just happened. And so until they actually hire an entirely new team besides Ukes to work on the game, we're only ever going to see iteration upon iteration on that same buggy, animation glitchy engine they've been using, so don't expect too much. But certainly, they made some strides last year in making things more fun. But they do have a lot of pieces that can be arranged in different ways to make for a better gaming experience. So of course, at the top of the show here, we have to mention the things I mention every single year. Number one, where's GM mode? Certainly in the past year, as we've seen on YouTube with Up Up Down Down, there was more fervor for bringing back a GM mode. I think now more than ever would be a great year to reintroduce GM mode. Will they? I still have my doubts. Again, 2K says more investment, and more investment could mean more modes, and one of the top modes being requested from the players is GM mode, so I had to mention it. I know you guys want it. I'm pretty sure they know that you guys want it. But will they actually put it in the game this year? That remains to be seen. And also, I want to see Create a Story return to the 2K series. Give me back that feature. Give me those cutscenes. They've got such great camera control now in these games for creating replays. Use that to create stories. Give us text bubbles. Give us different backstage scenarios. Let us go wild. And then, when you guys make stories, I can watch those and react to those and have great videos, right? Just, come on, please. But those two things I ask for like every year, so I'm not going to hold my breath on those being included. Now then, a thing I wanted last year that was not there, and I still think you are primed with how things currently are in the world of wrestling today, is that where is the women's My Career mode, right? You had an all-women's pay-per-view in the last year. You had women main event WrestleMania for the first time ever. Isn't it time for a women's My Career? We have enough of them on the roster in the game, so just do that. I thought they actually did a great job with last year's My Career being a singular story-focused thing, made it way more fun to play, for me anyway. I think if you look back to the old Road to WrestleMania, where you had multiple paths for multiple superstars, then there's no reason to not have a men's My Career and a women's My Career. Come on. Now then, when it comes to match types, I got what I wanted last year. I've been complaining for years, where is the Fatal 5-Way, and they gave me what I want. Thanks, Batista. So with that major one out of the way, we have one of the other major match types that needs to return, and they totally teased us on last year and did not deliver, which is the special guest referee. Clearly you can do it, considering last year's showcase with Daniel Bryan had the match with Triple H as the guest ref. Clearly that tech exists somewhere in 2K. Give us the guest ref match option back. More options, better than less options. Common sense. On that note, when will we have weapons returning to Hell in the Cell? I see no reason to not have things like chairs and bats and sledgehammers being able to be used in Hell in the Cell. It's Hell in the Cell. I understand not having tables. That's a whole different level of complexity. I get that. But at least give us the bats and the chairs and that kind of stuff in Hell in the Cell. It would make those matches that much better. Something else that should be fairly easy to put in the game would be the Greatest Royal Rumble. A 50-man Royal Rumble with the big green belt in Saudi, but perhaps they want to avoid anything with Saudi in their video game because of, you know, reasons. But if you can do 30, then why not 40 or 50? That shouldn't be that hard to just increase that number of people in that Rumble match. But in terms of actual new stuff that I want to see, give me War Games. I don't know if that engine can handle War Games, but give me War Games. Now, in terms of match stuff, I can almost guarantee you're not going to see the 2019 Royal Rumble Arena. There's no way it's going to be accurate because that entrance ramp had a curve in it. And you know they're not going to reanimate 200 plus entrances for one arena. It's going to be straight. Come on. Same reason we never get an accurate entrance ramp for WrestleMania. They're not going to reanimate that many entrances. But hey, again, if you're further investing in your game series, then perhaps hire more people to do that work. But back to showcase mode. Number one, will they actually have it again this year? And number two, if they have it again, then who should be in that showcase? But I think Kofi is a good choice. Now, I don't know how many of his historic or memorable wins would involve talent who was no longer in the company. That's always kind of the stumbling block, is talent still being under contract or in the game. But if you can't have Kofi, then perhaps have a Women's Evolution showcase. Perhaps because of the end of the Shield, you could have a Shield showcase. Or because DX in the Hall of Fame, you could have a DX showcase. Which brings me to the cover of the game. And I said last year, it would be high time for a woman to be on the cover. And that could have been Charlotte, that could have been Ronda Rousey. We ended up getting AJ Styles. This year again, I'm going to say you could bring back the multi-cover. You could have Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte on the cover of that game. You could have The Shield on the cover of that game. You know they've wanted to put the big dog on that cover for a long time now. And honestly, if it was part of the Shield, I think most folks would be okay with that. But of course, that leaves the special edition, if you will. And that, again, if you don't have the Shield on your regular, you could have a Shield special edition. You could have a DX special edition. You could honestly have Batista, since he is now retired. You could have Edge. Like, there are options here for a great special edition. Now, it's hard to guess who's going to be in the game and who's not going to be in the game, but I would hope they have made damn sure that Ciampa is in the game, that Nikki Cross is in the game. Two of the greatest exclusions from last year's game. And I know, obviously, Ciampa is out injured at the moment, but hopefully they would have got that deal done before WrestleMania. In terms of DLC, man, it's getting harder to tell who's going to be main roster, who's going to be DLC. In terms of new signings, fresh signings, debuts, I would say Walter, most likely DLC, Kushida, most likely DLC, perhaps Io Shirai, perhaps Jeff Jarrett, and honestly, with the recent changes to Bray Wyatt, you could argue the new, improved Firefly Funhouse Bray happening after WrestleMania might make him DLC. And that honestly leads to a much larger question, and that is who will be the pre-order bonus this year? It's usually either a legend who hasn't been in the game for a couple of years, or it's some fresh face, big deal like Ronda Rousey, or it's the Terminator. Like, you've got options there, and it's hard to think who this year that would really apply to in terms of what you would have as your pre-order bonus for 2K20. I know a lot of folks are going to push for China, and that'd be great. But without knowing if they're going to have some kind of a DX edition of the game, without knowing, like, who's on the cover of the game, these things all kind of align with each other. So I'd say it's honestly too soon to call who's going to be that pre-order DLC bonus. It's way less obvious this year, whereas last year, Ronda Rousey seemed pretty obvious. Now then, we've had loot boxes for 2 years. You cannot spend actual money the last 2 years on loot boxes. Will they pull that trigger this year? And honestly, here's the thing. If you make the rest of the game that much better, the amount of backlash you're going to get will be that much less. But again, if you see this the same thing as 2K19, just a little bit shinier, with a little bit new stuff in it, and say, hey, also, guess what? Give us extra money for loot boxes, that's not going to go over well. Additionally, you have several countries in the world now literally banning the practice of loot boxes. So do you really want to maintain a different version of your game for other countries in the world? And finally, the final question that I asked last year that was a resounding no as it turned out was, will there be a version on the Nintendo Switch? Which, that thing is selling huge. That thing is doing gangbusters, and there are plenty of third-party games that are running on that system and running well. So, what 2K has to do here, they have to get a team that is not Blind Squirrel, get a competent team, give them the time and the resources to actually give us a good port of 2K20 on the Switch. Or, conversely, get a different team to make a different game and give us a good Switch wrestling game. Either way, that's money on the table, 2K. That's money you could be making, because I would definitely buy a competent Switch wrestling game. Just make a good one. If they can get Mortal Kombat 11 running, Doom running, Wolfenstein running, you can get a Switch version of 2K running. Seriously. In closing, I would say that based on last year's game, I actually have higher hopes for this year's game. It actually gave me a bit of a, alright, you guys have managed to turn something around at least a little bit. There are still the core issues of the game. It still has the glitches and bugs and other various problems. I thought Towers was kind of not for me, but some folks enjoyed it. And overall, I thought it was okay. Not top 10 for me of last year by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely moving in a better direction. So here's hoping that better direction continues this year with 2K20. I'm Attack Slug. Thanks for watching. More videos on this channel. Stuff for those. See you next time. And I am out.